warm welcome to all those who are watching this episode. This is the final episode of GreenChat for season 1. My colleagues, Dr. Hiran, Vedam, Mukundan, Narasimhan, and N. Suresh, and myself, Suresh Mony, have pleasure in bringing you episode 12 of this GreenChat season 1. When we started these GreenChat episodes about 3 to 4 months ago, roughly 3.5 months ago, our objective was really to disseminate some knowledge of what is happening on the environmental front, the environmental degradation, and really take it to the IITians, the IIT Madras alumni, the pan-IITians, who are all learned and intelligent, and also have probably a yen to do something for society. And that's what we said, because this whole concept, the whole subject of environmental change that is happening, there is so much to know, there is so much that has to be done. And I think in most areas, people don't know where to start from. And that's what we thought, that we'll create some awareness. So the idea was the learned IITians could trigger changes in themselves, in the community around them, and in society. So, and we started off with some surveys, and we must admit that the response to the surveys was modest, like most surveys, I think. I mean, people are not so eager to respond to surveys. But be that as it may, it gave us some cues. Whatever limited responses we got gave us some cues on how to structure the episodes and how to take them forward. In our first episode, we covered the 4 major areas of environmental degradation: climate change, eutrophication, loss of biodiversity, and ocean acidification. And then, we introduced this. And we also then said that it is not right to look at them in isolation. We said these are all interconnected, and each one has got an impact on the other. One can be a cause, the other can be impacted. So all of them are really interconnected. And that's the biggest problem. When planners and government tend to look for solutions, they look at solutions in isolation. But we can't do that. I think all of them, and that's why we said the atmosphere, the geosphere, the hydrosphere, and the biosphere are all connected. And so if you want solutions, we have to look at them in totality and in an integrated manner. These subsequent episodes were on energy. Energy, I think we had at least about 3, 4, 5 episodes, and we talked about various options in terms of generation, in terms of use and things like that. And then, of course, we had sessions on transportation. And at length, there was discussion on electric vehicles, and which is going to be the important sort of mode of communication or transport in the future, at least from 2030 onwards. So, and after that, we covered the role of government, the role of the role of institutions in terms of climate finance, and also academia, and how higher education institutions can also contribute to innovations, to startups. But what we have really covered during the last 11 episodes is really at the tip of the iceberg, or shall we say, just scratch the surface. There is so much more to discuss. There's so much more to learn. And I suppose I will be right in saying that it is just the beginning, and we need to have probably a season 2 in order to cover the balance episodes. Am I right in saying that, Hiran?
Absolutely.
Having given this brief introduction, I think I'll now ask Hiran to say a few words on what she thought was the highlights of the first 11 episodes. And then that will be followed by Suresh and Mukundan.
Thank you, Suresh, for that, for setting the stage for us. As I reflect back at the episodes we have recorded and the people we brought on, as you mentioned, we did start out with the broad challenges around sustainability. But as we started bringing on external panelists, one thing became clear. The Indian way of thinking about climate tech and the solving this challenge is unique and different than what you would see in the global north. There is a lot more focus on incremental and continuous improvements in the Indian ecosystem. That was brought on when we discussed with the panel comprising of Professor Satya Chakravarti, Dr. Shubhra, about the technology options around energy and transportation, right? And this theme recurs when we brought in panelists on different episodes. The other thing that came out when we looked at the episodes we recorded is that we ended up talking a lot about carbon. I know you and I, we had discussions around, whether we should be just focusing on carbon emissions or whether we should be looking at it, more broadly. But even though we started broadly, it became more and more apparent that carbon is at the root of everything else. And if we reduce the carbon emissions, we can actually tackle many of these problems. And that's where we spent quite a bit of time on energy. We spent quite a bit of time on transportation. When I say energy, really power generation, not energy as a whole. And in terms of the contributions, their contributions to the overall greenhouse gas emissions, power generation is, of course, one of the largest contributors globally and also in India. Industry is another big contributor. We haven't touched it at all. Agriculture is a big component, and in the Indian context, it is the third largest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. We haven't talked about that at all, but we did touch on the fourth contributor, which is around transportation. I hope in the future episodes, we can cover industrial decarbonization, agricultural decarbonization, water, and making energy efficient buildings and so on. The other takeaway for me was that we did 11 episodes. Now we are the 12th one. We are recording the 12th one. But I am the only woman in all these episodes. I would love to see more women panelists. And that's something we want to include in the future seasons when we do recordings. In the final episode before this, we had a discussion around the broader ecosystem to support taking the technologies from lab to market and what we can all do about it. And that's important because according to IEA, nearly 40 to 45% of the technologies that are needed to reach net zero by 2050 haven't even been created. They're either not created or in early stages of piloting and deployment. So creating that ecosystem in India is important, and discussion around that is important. And I think we just scratched the surface with the episode we did, episode 11, but I hope we can cover more of that in the future. Yeah, I think I'll stop here and over to you, Suresh.
Hello, friends. The first season of GreenChat journey has been, for me, it's been very inspiring with insights from all panelists. And also I feel happy with the positive feedback we got from various alumni and non-alumni listeners. My take from the GreenChat episode is that to make a real progress in large-scale adoption of climate change mitigation measures can be only achieved by development of simple solutions that can be easily adapted and which also makes a commercial sense. To the role of academia and various R&D centers in bringing out this kind of simple solutions is very important. At the same time, I would also like to bring that we need to support the startup industry, which is focused on contributing towards climate mitigation solutions. Well, the ever-increasing population of the world has put a huge demand on the agriculture sector, which is one of the major contributors in the climate change. So, as Hiran said, we are going to analyze this important sector in our season 2 of GreenChat and understand how this highly sensitive sector with varied agriculture practices for the same crop can be enabled to adopt climate-friendly measures. On a broad basis, there are 3 areas where this sector can be changed on. One is on the tech-enabled analysis, which can help the farmers to take actions at various stages of farming and also help in selling the produce at a profitable price. The second is increased use of robotics in farming that can reduce the production costs. The third is the recycling of the organic waste, which can give additional revenue to the farmers and prevent GHG emissions. The increasing demand by the knowledgeable urban population today for organic produce with more nutrient content requires the farmers to use biofertilizers and biopesticides without compromising on the yield. Well, I expect the season 2 of Green Chat to be highly exciting and knowledgeable as on how each one of us can contribute in mitigating climate change. Thank you. Over to Mukund.
Hi all. Thank you very much for all your lovely feedback and wonderful insights from the other panelists that came in. I have a reasonably good LinkedIn Connect base, and each time I posted something on GreenChat on my LinkedIn page, at least we received more than 2,000 plus impressions. So this goes beyond the typical IITM target that we had initially, and that is also heartening to see that industry experts as well as other people outside of IITM infrastructure and IITMA infrastructure were also very pleased with what we have done so far in episodes 1 through 11, right? And I think that goes without saying that there is more to be done, a lot more to be done, involving external folks who are really true experts in the areas of industries, agriculture, and other areas which we have not touched upon in season 1 is going to be critical. And as Hiran pointed out, involving more women. And I think that's not just sort of a inclusive basis work, but they're actually doing some amazing work. I know of some phenomenal women who are doing some amazing work. We're going to see more of them definitely in season 2. And I think Hiran's been holding the fort on that so far, but we will get, obviously, including Hiran, we'll get a lot more women in season 2. And we reach out at this point, as Suresh Mony would do towards the end, for more sponsors for sponsoring Green Chat. Each episode takes editing time. For the third party people that we invite to join us as co-hosts, we need to give them a small memento, etc., which we've not been able to do so far in season 1 because it is all sort of self-funded. We require a good amount of sponsorship for which we need CSR funds, people from corporates, or even individuals who are interested in spreading this awareness. And also in season 2, we also want to focus on what does this mean for me as an individual? What more can I do, or what less? How much less can I do to contribute to better climate environment? Right. So I think that would be what we will focus on season 2, and Suresh Mony will handle what all we're going to talk about in season 2, and also make the pledge for sponsorship. Thank you.
Thanks, Max. So thanks, Max, Suresh, and Hiran.
I want to add something before we proceed.
Okay, Hiran, sure.
So before we hand it over to Suresh, Mony to wind this off, I would like to thank every panelist who attended, who participated in all our sessions and contributed your knowledge and your expertise to make our episodes more enriching and, a great learning experience for us who have been part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Hiran, for that. And here are a few panelists who are going to talk about their experience being part of Green Chat.
This podcast has given me an opportunity to interact with participants from startups, government, research institutions, corporates, etc., and understand the technologies and the roles that different stakeholders are playing in achieving the net zero. As I mentioned in the past, we are still a long way to go. So we still have significant action items that need to be taken. So we must, in the future podcasts and the chats, come out with time-bound action items and deliverables. Some of the areas that we could probably look into are renewable energy, waste management, energy security, storage of energy, materials, renewable energy such as solar power, wind power, green hydrogen, etc. So these are some of the areas where we could probably focus much more and come out with time-bound action items with the specific roles and responsibilities of startups, government, corporates, and the specific areas where the corporate social responsibility also could kick in and then help reach these targets much faster. So these are the areas that I would personally like to see moving forward in the next edition of Green Chat. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, in the present age of climate change, where the world is talking about carbon neutrality by 2050 and decarbonization and shift from carbon to hydrogen economy, I think the Green Chat gives a platform by which we could understand what are the issues which are being faced by those in the climate tech space, especially the startups. I think the role which the R&D institutions, the academia, the industry, and the government can do to do as a facilitator right from the validation of the ideas and then demand what is the issue, addressing the issues as well as what is the probable solutions and what government can support to make that idea a reality to address the issues of the present day world. Simultaneously, the brand value building, the funding mechanism, including alternate investment funds, private funding for the clean tech space, then how value can be created and how we can help in scaling up the industry. I think these were the issues, main learnings which I could get from the Green Chat.
Hi. The Green Chat episode we did was a refreshing interaction and unique in the sense that Hiran had curated a diverse set of speakers who had perspectives that we could all learn from. In general, through the interaction, I was heartened to hear about the increasing focus on decarbonization, both at the corporate and government levels, and of course, the pioneering work that the two founders, Pankaj and Rohit, had been undertaking. In terms of what I'd like to see more in future episodes, many things, but spotlighting more founders doing great work in this space in India, both those that are building for the world and those that are solving uniquely Indian problems. We have great entrepreneurial talent in India that is doing both these things. It would also be nice to continue to hear deeper perspectives of how policymakers are thinking about India's decarbonization transition. That's something I'm very interested in. As we all know, we are a few years into the defining decade of clean tech. As entrepreneurs, investors, governments, individuals, and corporates all come together to solve a host of technical, commercial, behavioral, and coordination challenges. It will be a true adventure, and I hope more entrepreneurs join us on this journey. Look forward to more. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pankaj Sharma, and I'm one of the co-founders at Log9 Materials. Log9 is an EV battery technology company working towards building technologies on a mission to leave this planet better than we found it through electric vehicles that are less polluting, and that's going to allow us to wean ourselves off from the fossil economy into a much cleaner economy. I was delighted to be part of the Green Chat, looking at how everybody is looking at climate change and from their own lenses, and what is it that each one of us can do to make this planet a shade better than what we found it, and then the cumulative effect of our efforts can lead to a better planet. I think for the biggest learning curve and the biggest discussion point that happened for me was moving away from an activist mindset, where it's all about waking up our fellow citizens and fellow countrymen to what needs to happen, to taking control of the discussion and saying, you know what, I'm going to do something about it. And the three broad strokes for that was, one was, technology has to be at the center of a transformation. Perhaps at an individual level, what we can do and what impact we can leave on a planet is limited. We can plant a tree, probably take care of the waste that we generate, segregate it. But when a bunch of people come together and create a technology and that enables others to exercise that technology that's reducing carbon burden, that's really powerful. So I think technologies, or I call it the climate technologies, are the way forward, and it's great to hear from other startups what they're doing. The other big learning curve, and which was delighting to hear, was the carbon dollars, if I call it, or the climate investment. I think there's a renewed interest to look at sustainable investment, which is not about return on investment, but also the impact that the investment can generate. And that's always a delight, because we really need to put our money where our mouth is. And to hear the investors talk about it, backing technologies that are going to do better climate action through investment and technologies. And the third big thing that came out was the policy framework. What is it that we need to do to incentivize better tech to come out that's going to clean up the climate, and disincentivize technologies that's emitting more? So I think within this framework, very simple take home for me, let's have one single North Star. Let's make this planet closer to what it was supposed to be and closer to what we got when we got here. And that one single North Star is not about being an activist. It's all about being the action-oriented inventors, investors, policymakers, all coming together for that one single North Star. So my compliment, and looking forward for more conversation on Green Chat.
Hello, Green Chat enthusiasts. This was a big honor for me to participate in the Green Chat organized by a lot of enthusiastic people and my friends. And I learned a lot from it, not just in my session, but all the other sessions. What I really liked was the coverage it had of so many different topics, with experts from many of these topics and our alumni. It's so fantastic to learn about all of these topics and not just get a superficial understanding, but piqued our interest to learn a lot more. I look forward to a lot more in the GreenChat, looking at different issues. I think that's a wide variety of topics that are out there, and I look forward to learning a lot more in GreenChat season 2.
Thanks. While we talk about environmental degradation, we talk about eutrophication, ocean acidification, etc. But the common denominator seems to be the carbon emissions. And just to give you an idea of the magnitude of carbon emissions, today we are talking about 3,200 billion tons of, in terms of CO2 equivalent, which are the emissions in India. And that is a huge, huge amount. And with all the efforts that we take, and we do afforestation, and we do carbon CCUS, carbon capture and underground storage, we will still be left with about 1,000 billion tons by 2050. So, and it calls for huge efforts, and that's why we have to have innovations. We have to have innovation, and I think all of them talked about Suresh, Hiran, and Mukund talked about these startups. We require a lot of innovations. Recently, I understand they attended I didn't attend. I think Hiran, Suresh, and Mux attended a conference on Climafix. It's called Climafix, and I was glad to see that there were 100 startups in that. 100 startups who are doing various things for on the environmental front. That is very encouraging. The fact that in one conclave you could have 100 startups who are talking or displaying their wares on innovation for climate change, I think is a huge, big impetus that the innovation sector is receiving. I think the climate change, climate action sector is receiving. In the next season, when we talk about, I think we'll have to talk more about solutions. We'll have to bring more people who are doing innovations and more startups. And some of the things that we have not covered during this season 1. So the areas that we intend to cover during the next season are: one is agriculture. Suresh mentioned about that. Agriculture and animal husbandry. Together they constitute almost about 12% of emissions, in India. Agriculture, and you don't believe, we generally try to imagine that industry will be the bigger contributor, but it's actually agriculture and animal husbandry which contributes more than industry. Then we have water and wastewater. And then, of course, we have industry in the cement industry, the steel sector, the chemical sector, refineries, and so on. So those are the three big areas. So the agriculture, animal husbandry, the wastewater, water and wastewater, and industry are the three big sectors which we will cover in the next season. I think unless we emphasize circular economy, and unless we really take circular economy to the maximum extent possible, I think our objectives in terms of minimizing environmental degradation will not be achieved. So circular economy is going to play a big, big part in terms of realizing our goals. So these are some of the areas that we will be concentrating and focusing in the next season. Mux mentioned about the sponsorship. So we are hoping that we can collaborate with one or more of these agencies or entities so that the word is spread. The idea is that we need to disseminate knowledge, and everyone should know, and they should feel it is they owe it. They owe it to themselves, and they owe it to society and to humanity to contribute something for combating climate change, combating the environmental degradation. So, and that is why we hope that sponsors from wherever they are, whether it's individuals or collective entities or organizations or industry, will come forward in our effort to spread the word and make and do a bit really for society. Let me also tell you that although this has been presented from IIT Madras, at a pan IIT level, a lot of emphasis is also being given to the environment and climate action. And we hope that, I am sure that if the IITians outside of IIT Madras who are listening to this, we can get the combined power of the IITs, harness the power of IITs across India, the 23 IITs, and do something collectively to combat the climate change and to do our bit to promote or to minimize environmental degradation. So with these few words, let me also join my colleagues in thanking all those who are important in bringing these episodes. The external panelists, actually there were I think 5 or 6 of them who did their bit, and they brought in a lot of insights, and they were learning for each one of us and for the viewers, I hope. We also had to thank the IIT Madras Alumni Association for giving the administrative support to for us to carry forward the episode, the 12 episodes in GreenChat, and they were of great help. And of course, the viewers, the audience, all those of you who have given their feedback and responses. I think without you, we wouldn't have been able to make some certain mid-course corrections and enrich the episodes. So we thank all those who have been involved in GreenChat episode 1 to 12 for whatever has been conveyed and communicated so far. And let me thank my colleagues Hiran, Max, and Suresh for bearing the brunt of this 12 episodes, and I mean they were involved in a very, very big way, and really they've done an excellent job in this. So thank you all, and we'll look forward to season 2.
Before we leave, one group we haven't thanked are the student editors who have diligently edited our videos every time we've given them. So a big thank you to the editorial team for doing an excellent job. Thank you.
Thanks, Hiran. Thanks, yeah.
Thank you, and we are looking forward to a very exciting season 2. That's it.